Sanbonan. Welcome to yet another episode of Ringa Diski. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everyone who's been watching, to everyone who's been subscribing, to everyone who's been liking all the videos that I post on the TikTok. I honestly, really and truly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, right? I also want to say to everyone who has not subscribed, you are watching this for the first time, please go on to YouTube, search for Ringa Diski. Please go on to Facebook, search for Ringa Diski there as well. Please also go on to TikTok, search for Ringa Diski. You'll find me there. You'll find all my links in those spaces and those socials, right? Yeah, man, yet another exciting episode of football. Yet another exciting week and weekend of football, right? Before I go on into this episode, I wanted to sort of close something that I was talking about last week, right? Or last episode. I was talking about our coach and the coaches that are under pressure, right? And I mentioned Manchester United coach. And I laughed when I saw a headline that says, or a story that was talking about how he may be replaced by Xavi, the former Barcelona player, former Barcelona coach. And yeah, man, it would be interesting if that happens because, yeah, Xavi can bring something different, but why? Why is Ten Hag under such pressure? He just won a game. Like, over the weekend, he won a game, but yeah, he's not going to be let off that easy. He's always going to be under that pressure. Also, interesting, right? Watching the Champions League with the crazy format that it is now, the one that I'm just trying to understand what exactly that format is all about, but I guess it will take some time. Yeah, I'm looking at who's that player? Kompany, Vincent Kompany. Remember, guys, Vincent Kompany played for Man City, and then he captained Man City, captained them into a couple of league titles as well. And then he left Man City to go, I think at the time was doing his coaching batches while he was a player, or yeah, he then left and then went into coaching, right? In his coaching sort of career, he then went into coaching in the English football, in English football. So he then coached in the Championship where he coached Burnley and he got Burnley promoted. You guys remember Lyle Foster played for Burnley or played in Burnley that got promoted and then got into the Premier League, right? Now, he didn't do so badly, but he got relegated, right? He then gets a job to go coach Bayern Munich. Now, if there's something that's called failing up, this is what failing up is, right? This is what failing up is, right? Because compare Burnley getting relegated to Bayern Munich, a championship winning team, a team that dominated in Germany for years. This team was just dominating and winning trophies, right? To a point where he took over a job from someone who is now a national coach in England, with Thomas Tuchel, where Thomas Tuchel could not get this team sort of back into winning the Bundesliga, which again is interesting because he can win the Bundesliga, but England trusts him to win them as something in the national arena. But yeah, it was also interesting to see the English media talking about Thomas Tuchel and how he's going to come in, not being English, as I mentioned. And yeah, it was a huge topic of this week. Like where someone was saying, maybe the English football fraternity is becoming too snobbish to a point that they think they have everything and they think they have the right coaches to win them things while they don't, right? Which is true. They actually don't, right? But anyway, asiko lapo. Yeah, I wanted to get into this topic as I promised on my last episode that I was going to talk about RoyalAM, right? But before I go into RoyalAM, quick background, right? So we know Oguti FIFA as the custodians or as a international sort of body of football comes into FAs, your football associations or football federations, your national ones, and they sort of, oversee certain things and run certain things, right? So what happens is that you'll find either a club that who is not happy with how another club has signed their player, and they will go to FIFA, and FIFA will then look at the case, look at the facts, and then either ban or sanction. Let's call it sanction the team that is at fault and all of that, right? You remember a quick example, a couple of examples would be Barcelona at one stage was not able to sign players, right? This is because of irregular signing of under 18 players, right? I think Barcelona would get sort of, fancy footwork in signing under 18 players onto their B teams and development teams. And once the FIFA got that, FIFA was like, okay, so Bonisa, and then Barcelona got banned in terms of signing players. I think they got banned in 2 windows, the start of the season and the January window, if I'm not mistaken, right? Similar happened to Chelsea. You guys remember the same happened to Chelsea. It happened when Lampard was coming in, and he promoted the players that you see now, Abu Rhys James, Abu Abrahams, the player that is now in Italy, who's this boy who's now playing for Manchester United, right? They got promoted because, he couldn't sign players again. I think with him it was the opening season window and the January window, right? And knowing Chelsea and what they do when it's signing time, they were going to sign players during that time, and they were going to bring in sort of heavy hitters. And all of this is happening while other players are also leaving Chelsea at the time. I think, was it the time Abu Hazard were leaving, Abu Williams were leaving, and all of those experienced players were leaving Chelsea at the time. So they left a huge gap. But nonetheless, that's what FIFA does, right? To bring it locally, you remember locally you had Kaizer Chiefs, right? Kaizer Chiefs signed a player, I think from Madagascar. Not that I think I know what the heck was from Madagascar. Apparently they saw him play in the Kosafa Cup. They were impressed, and then they signed the player. Turns out the T's and the T's were not crossed, the I's were not dotted properly, because his mother club came back and said, listen, this player was not signed from us. We have this player's, this is our player basically. And this contract was not, transferred from us to Kaizer Chiefs properly or whatever. There was not a proper transfer here. And then FIFA looked at it, and FIFA then banned the Chiefs again for, I think it was for 2 windows as well, when it came to Kaizer Chiefs, right? You guys remember that season that they got banned was the season where Kevin Hunt came in, right? And he also couldn't sort of boost the squad, right? Which I'll come back to now, right? So these ones that I'm talking about, the examples I'm making for you, are example that relates to signing of players, right? We've also seen where players who are not paid properly, or who are not paid by the clubs in terms of, hey, I am leaving, I still have a year with you guys, or you guys want me to leave, I still have a year with you guys. Either you sell me, which I think is the best way, or I leave. But if I leave, I signed a 3-year contract and I'm in my first year or year and a half. So therefore you need to pay me the rest of my money, right? And this is why you'll see sometimes when the teams announce players leaving, they'll say by mutual agreement. That means I agree to leave, you agree to buy me out of my contract, and then you give me whatever you want to give me, right? So it turns out there's a player, Nurkovic was brought, I think he's Serbian, right? Was brought into the country by Kaizer Chiefs. And he played for Kaizer Chiefs, but then, it didn't work out. He left the Kaizer Chiefs. I think also he was just coming back from an injury. I can't remember, but they didn't renew his contract. And then he went on to go to RoyalAM, right? I think he was a free agent when he went to RoyalAM. Goes to RoyalAM, plays for RoyalAM, and things don't go as well as he expected them to. He's like, okay, can I leave now? Or I think they were like, okay, you can leave. I don't know who decided to, which one should happen first. And then it's like, okay, settle the contract, right? No, they don't settle the contract. And he goes to FIFA because they don't want to pay him. And it's like, FIFA, these people who have lots of money, by the way, are not willing to pay me as a settlement, right? And FIFA again looks at the case and was like, okay, we will teach you guys a lesson, right? And yeah, they went on to ban RoyalAM. Now, the RoyalAM ban is interesting, right? Because it means, or it says, number one, we are not going to sign senior players, right? So your first team is not going to bring in new players. The players that you have that play for the MDC team, you are not going to renew their contract or sign new contracts for those players or new players to come into your development team, right? You are also not going to sign because they have, remember when they bought Status Bloemfontein Celtics, Bloemfontein Celtics had a women's team and they bought that Status as well. Now they can't sign players also in the women's team as well, right? What this has done, this has now made it difficult for the MDC team to exist, basically, to honor fixtures in that league, right? The development league. Because, yeah, they can't field enough players. Because I'm guessing what had happened is that either they took players from MDC and then they brought in them into the first team because you hold those contracts. So you're not signing new players, you're just moving them into the first team. Like, as I said, Chelsea did, right? Now, what is interesting is that because now these players that they move into the first team, probably if they did, are not able to go and honor the MDC team fixtures, therefore now they can't play in the MDC league. And yeah, I think they've been also banned from that league or whatever happened, but they can't play. So yeah, they don't have an MDC team league team, which is again quite fascinating. Now my thing is, right, and this is not a money thing, right? This is a administration thing. Doesn't matter because as far as I understand, the family, the Mpisane family has Ching Ching, right? The Mkize Mpisane family has Ching Ching. By Mkize Mpisane, I don't want to disrespect Mkize because she's a Mkize. Mpisane is the son, right? Mpisane is the chairman of the club, by the way. So they have money on their own. So it doesn't necessarily mean RoyalAM has money. If you guys get what I'm trying to say, right? So this is not about them saying, you can't, I'm not saying, hey, Ninemali, why are you not paying a player? All I'm saying is that, number one, what's the cause of the dispute for the money? Right? Is there a agreement that was not adhered to by the player and the club, right? Is there an agreement that says, listen, we wanted you to stay, but you chose to leave? Or we wanted you to leave and we gave you some amount and you did not accept and therefore there's nothing we can do, right? You know, quick one, in football, right? What happens is, give you an example quickly. The coach that coached Chelsea 2 coaches back, I think Graham Potter it is. Yeah, Graham Potter, I think is his name, right? What happens is, because he was let go and his contract was not complete, right? Until he finds another job, Chelsea has to pay him, right? Even the coach, Bayern Munich, I think, before Thomas Tuchel took over, he was being paid by Bayern Munich. They call them farmers coaches or something, farmers salaries, something like that. There's a term for it, where you just get paid and you're not doing the actual work. But you're only getting paid because the club is not going to sell you, doesn't want to say, hey, go and coach another team. They don't want you to thingy. You also don't want to, like, okay, don't give me my money. It's fine. You signed me for 2 years. I coached 1. It's fine. I'm going to go and do nothing for nothing. No. You still want your money. You signed the contract and therefore they have to honor it, right? Anyway, so that's just the example. If you sign a contract that says this person is going to be with us for 3 years, if there's no mutual agreement to terminate that contract, if that 3 years has not come, yeah, you can't, right? It's the same reason why teams have a 1-year extension on all the contracts, and it's for the team to exercise that extension, where players think, oh, contract yami iphelile, therefore I'm gonna leave, and the team's like, no, we are exercising our 1 year extension, right? The contract is binding. So that's where I'm getting to, is that where is the gap here, right? Who is not doing what they need to be doing in this instance, or who did not do what they needed to do in this instance, right? We've read about a lot. We've seen players come into South Africa. I think there was an instance, I'll try and remember it, where a player came into the country, signed for a club, didn't kick a ball for the club, left and was paid his money, right? It happens. Now, again, RoyalAM is not the first one. RoyalAM will not be the last one, right? But you think it should be a lesson to say, listen, we're signing professionals here, right? When they leave, mkai package yakhe, mkamkotla wakho mfowethu avai. Yangithola? Ahambe, right? And I went into check it if you have time, into the FIFA banned clubs. It's a lot of clubs. It's a lot of clubs, from here to Timbuktu to pretty much all the federations you can find. There's a lot of Chinese clubs in there. There's a lot of clubs who have this transfer ban that, FIFA imposes, right? Now, there is a sort of like a challenge. So if you go to FIFA and say, no, bra FIFA man, ngiyacela ungangitshuni kanje, you know what I mean? And you sort of plead your case, and they still say, nah, you broke protocol here, or you broke the law, and you do not do the right thing. We still stand by our decision. You can take them to the sports arbitration. I think it's called the National Sports Arbitration Court. You can take them there. Sorry, International Arbitration Court. You can take them there and see your chances there. It's probably not the cheapest court you can go to. You guys remember, Chiefs went to that court for the case Cadex. They did not succeed. Remember, Casta also went in, or was going to that court, or went into that court as well. So yeah, if FIFA does you wrong and you don't like that, you can go there and complain there, right? But I still stick to the point, Toguti, why? Like, why does this have to happen, right? Like, where is the breakdown here? Where is the miscommunication? Where is the misunderstanding? Because Nurkovic came to you and you signed him, and there's terms and conditions in that contract. Why are you not standing by those terms and conditions, right? But yeah, nonetheless, that's what it is, right? What I wanted to say about this, or what I wanted to speak about here, is that I remember even with Chiefs, people were like, yeah, Chiefs couldn't sign players, and therefore their squad was a bit weak. And I remember it was an excuse for the Chiefs not competing that season. And yeah, even Kevin left because, that team was not a competitive team. Now, I want to differ in that sense, right? Again, it comes to administration, right? FIFA would not come to you today to say, we are banning you, and tomorrow is the day where 6 of your players' contracts are ending, right? They won't do that to you. I think they'll give you time, right? Now, I know sometimes what happens is that players transfer to other teams. They sign pre-contracts in Jan, and then they leave, right? I know that players would say, even if a club is like, no, but we want to offer you a continuation here, they would say, no, thank you, I'm fine. I'm going to just go look for work in some other teams. I understand that, and I know that, but it shouldn't be, Uguti, knowing that you have a ban. You should do everything in your power to make sure that at least you nail down, say, like 25, 26 players. Make sure that your core of 25, 26 players is nailed down with contract extension, whatever that you have to offer them, right? Of course, within your means, or within the means of the club, whatever that you need to. You can't. It shouldn't be that when you going to a ban like this, again, knowing that you're going through a ban like this, you allow your best players to leave, right? But in South African terms, who do you think RoyalAM was going to buy to strengthen their team? Think about it. We've seen what happens in this country come transfer season, right? We've seen clubs let go of 15 players and sign 22 players, right? We've seen teams do this and still get relegated. We've seen it. It happens. So my thing is, if RoyalAM doesn't perform this season, as they were just beaten by Mamelodi Sundowns, right? Their last game. If they don't perform, if they get to a point where, knock on wood, they get relegated, would this ban be the reason for that? And if it is the reason, would the ban not be there? If the ban was not there, simple English, if the ban was not there, would they have signed players that were going to help them not get relegated? Right? You understand what I'm trying to say? Second question is, we have the MTCT, right? We have the development teams that are there, right? How far are our development teams, players and coaches and everyone who's in that development structure, how far are they from making it into the first team? In a sense that says, if it so happen, which we get a ban and we can't sign players, and 11 of our first team players leave, right? And we have 20 MTC players that we've signed. We know which we've signed these ones into long-term contracts because that's what they do to the kids, right? They normally sign them into like 5 years contract, like long-term contracts. We know which we've signed these players, and they are our players. And it's easy to get these players because they are part of the club into the first team. But how far are they from moving from development players to flourishing in the league, in the elite league? Like, what is that gap? Now, we've seen it where players come in. We see what's happening, for example, is it Mtu Shabalala? Was it, yeah, it's Mtu Shabalala, Mfundo Villagaz, right? Yes, I get their names right. But we see what's happening, right? You can see those boys came in and they Mfundo just last season came into the first team, hand in glove, fits in, right? But we've also seen the other side of it, where we've seen the player that Chiefs as Urkhatebe, that they just let go into a loan. So they loaned him out, I think, say Richards Bay. Where you were like, but this player is struggling for game time in the first team, and he comes from MTC. We've seen this. My favorite example is XTN, right? If you guys remember when MTC was starting, XTN was the star of that league. But how many games did he play for the first team? So we know there's a gap between getting a player from a development structure who's flourishing. I'm not even talking about players who are fringe players who are MTC. I'm talking about players who are flourishing, who are captains in those teams, who are goal scorers. But still, to get them up into the first team is hard. It's far, right? It's like, yo, Cape to Cairo type of vibes, which is, it should not happen like that. For me, it should not happen like that. How do we bridge that gap? I have no answers for you guys, and that's not part of the quiz. It's not part of. I don't have answers right now, but I know there's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of minds out there who think about this all the time. There are a lot of people who say, get these players to play in the first team, promote them as early as you can, get them the game experience or the game time, right? The one point I want to make about this, or the last point I want to make about this, and this is a point I've been making for as long as I remember. If you guys remember, we once had 20, if not 18. I think we had 18. Yeah, we had 18 team. Yeah, in the league. We had 18 teams in the league, right? Now, what those 18 teams allowed was for the teams who are like your top 4, top 5, top 6 teams to loan their players to your bottom 5, bottom 3, bottom 4 player teams, right? This is why the likes of David, the coach, Kaizer Chiefs, right? I almost said David Manyate. Is it Manyate? No. Yeah, it's David Manyate, right? UTVT. He got loaned, I think, to Dynamos at one point, right? And it's just one of the many examples that I'm thinking about. But that's many teams allowed you to be able to take 2 of your players, 3 of your players, and loan them into those teams, and they would get real game time, and they will play, and then you get them back, and you bring them back into your team, and they continue to do wonders. They go on to be legends in your team. That's the only point I wanted to make. Expand the league, get more teams coming in. Those teams will need players. Get the teams that have the bigger squads, have the bigger development teams, loan those players into those teams, and you expand it, and you get your sort of rotation going, and players are always playing. That's the point I wanted to make, guys. But nonetheless, before nginvalelisa bafethu, I did say I have a quiz for you guys. So I'm not gonna do a difficult one this time. I'm just gonna start easy. So when we turned over, remember we were at the NSL, and then we turned over into the PSL, right? A couple of teams came through. There was a team that was called Abaqulusi. Abaqulusi was a team from KZN. The real name was African Wanderers, right? Now, in the 98-99 season, Ibaqulusi sold or transferred 2 strikers that they had, right? One went into the Kaizer Chiefs team, and the other one went to Orlando Pirates. One was Unomvete, one was Uzuma, Sbusiso Zuma. Now, Sbusiso Zuma went on to play at Denmark when Unomvete went on to play in Italy. Now, my question is, who left first to go and play overseas? They came into the Soweto Giants in the 98-99 season. Who left first to go play overseas? Between Usbusiso Zuma and Unomvete, who previously played for African Wanderers, Abaqulus. That is the quiz, Bafethu. Thank you so much for joining me. Kamala Mustelwa Gadlamini, and you've been watching yet another exciting episode of Ringa Diski, Bafethu. To get on to the quiz, just go on to TikTok. I'll post this quiz there as well, and answer me there, or you can leave your comment here, and I'll let you guys know in the next episode what the answer is. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, please share, please like. Please share with everyone that you know, so that they can share with everyone that they know, and we can then share with everyone that you know. Sonke Bafethu. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the football that's coming up. Cheers, guys.